from your hometown election headquarters. This is a special edition of Fox First at 10.
Well, Fox is your hometown election headquarters. Good evening. I'm Stephanie Vigil.
I'm Dan Kleckner. Welcome to this special KHQ on Fox election broadcast, and welcome to our viewers in the Tri-Cities tonight. Well, the numbers are officially in. We're getting a pretty good idea of what you have decided for Washington and Idaho.
Yeah, so we'll get right to one of the most watched races in the country. Republican incumbent Cathy McMorris Rodgers is winning with 56% of the district-wide vote. And Lisa Brown says she called McMorris Rodgers to concede the race and congratulate her on the win.
Patrick Erickson has been covering the McMorris Rodgers campaign for the past couple of months. Patrick.
Guys, good evening. Cathy McMorris Rodgers, the highest-ranking Republican woman in the House, will now officially keep her seat for an 8th term. It was a celebration starting with apprehension earlier here tonight at the Davenport Grand as hundreds of supporters gathered waiting for good news. And that's exactly what they got tonight just after 8 o'clock. Speaking on stage just a short time ago, the Congresswoman described just how grueling this race was against her opponent, Lisa Brown.
This election was tough. It was a battle. I stand before you tonight stronger, better, and more convicted in what we are fighting for.
McMorris Rodgers now heads back to Washington, D.C., where she pledged to work harder than ever for everyone here in Eastern Washington, not just those who voted for, but everyone here in the 5th Congressional District for an 8th time. Cathy McMorris Rodgers elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Reporting live, Patrick Erickson, Fox, First at 10.
All right, thank you. And now to McMorris Rodgers' opponent, Democrat Lisa Brown.
Our Peter Maxwell has been on the campaign trail with her. Peter?
Well, Dan and Steph, good evening. Well, about an hour ago, there was a different type of atmosphere here inside the Masonic Temple ballroom. Right now, it's absolutely quiet. But when Democratic candidate Lisa Brown took the stage to address her supporters and to announce that she did concede to Republican Cathy McMorris Rodgers, they gasped. Now, this race garnered national attention when Lisa Brown's fundraising numbers came in. Nearly 88% of her $5.3 million donations came from individuals. That what is garnered a lot of national attention onto this race. Not only was that, but also the very, very tightness of this race. But when Brown did take to the stage, here's what she had to say.
There aren't enough votes to make up the difference. I have called Representative Cathy McMorris Rodgers and congratulated her on her victory. And I want you to join me in thanking her and her family for the sacrifice it is to be a public servant. Let's thank her for that.
Now, for the most part, there are just a couple of people still downstairs getting out of here and just kind of walking through and looking back on some of the memories they had in here tonight and throughout the campaign. Lisa hugged her entire staff and talked to a lot of her supporters after she did concede to Cathy McMorris Rodgers. Reporting at the Masonic Temple in downtown Spokane, I'm Peter Maxwell, Fox First at 10.
All right, Peter, appreciate it. And one of the other hot races, the Idaho gubernatorial races. There's only been a third of the 900 precincts reporting, but at this point, Republican Brad Little is up on Democrat Paulette Jordan. The other two candidates have around 1% each.
Our Adam Mayer is in Boise for us tonight. Adam, you spoke with both Brad Little and Paulette Jordan.
Oh, that's right, guys. And actually, the Associated Press just called a little while ago saying that Brad Little has won the governor's race here in Idaho. But I just did speak with Brad Little not too long ago, and he was talking about, you know, his track record as lieutenant governor, saying that he wants to bring in better paying jobs here into Idaho. He talked about, you know, how they dropped the unemployment rate and brought jobs into Idaho, but he said he wants that better quality of jobs, and he wants to bring it up north. And what he told me was that he wants to start bringing in a more instead of diversifying an economy, he wants to bring in and build upon what's already in North Idaho. The several jobs, or the plenty of jobs that are, a good example that he gave was in Post Falls at the research park and all around North Idaho. And he wants to bring those better paying jobs throughout the state.
I think the economy in Idaho is so good. that a lot of the issues that I talked about 4 and 8 years ago about more jobs isn't as big an issue. Now we've got almost full employment in many areas, and now they want better jobs, and they're concerned about education, health care, and infrastructure. So we've gone from we got to get these 100,000 people in Idaho jobs to now we're worried about the quality of life, education for our kids. That's a great thing.
And we're still waiting on Brad Little to take the stage, and as soon as he does, we'll be sure to carry that live. Live in Boise, Adam Mayer, Fox First at 10.
Adam, thank you. Another big race we've been following tonight, the U.S. Senate race here in Washington State. Right now, incumbent Senator Maria Cantwell is winning handily with 59% of the vote. In fact, Cantwell has been declared the winner by the major networks.
And tonight, the city of Spokane voting on a couple bond measures, one of which is tied to an advisory vote that was also on the ballot. Claire Graham joins us now with a closer look at those results. Claire?
Yeah, guys, voters in Spokane are getting behind these bond measures. Both needed a supermajority or 60% vote to pass, and they did. First, the city of Spokane's Prop 1, a $77 million bond to redo the public library system. It's going to modernize the downtown, South Hill, Shadle, and Indian Trail branches. It'll build a new Hilliard Library and add branches at Liberty Park and the Libby Center. It'll also build library kiosks throughout the city. Tonight, that bond is passing with 63% of the vote. Next up is Spokane Public Schools Prop 1, which is a $495 million bond that aims to relieve overcrowding. It'll pay to build 3 new middle schools for the Northeast, Northwest, and South parts of Spokane. It would replace or renovate Glover, Sacagawea, Shaw, and Libby middle schools, along with the On Track Academy and Joe Albi Stadium. It'll also add a cafeteria at Lewis and Clark High School. Now tonight, that bond is also passing with 67% of voters supporting it. And stemming from that bond is the advisory vote about Joe Albi Stadium. It's a non-binding vote, just giving the city and school district an idea of what the people of Spokane would like to do with Joe Albi. One option, to keep it where it is and downsize the stadium from 30,000 to 5,000 seats and renovate it. That's the one Spokane voters are going for tonight with 65% of the vote. The other option was to move the stadium downtown and build a new stadium near the arena. The current stadium will be demolished and replaced with soccer fields. However, that option is failing. One other race we are following tonight is for Spokane County Sheriff. Incumbent Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich is currently winning. His opponent died in a motorcycle crash earlier this year and still got nearly 15,000 votes. Now, again, these numbers are preliminary, which means they could all change tomorrow when the next ballot count happens. In the newsroom, I'm Claire Graham. Guys?
All right. Thank you, Claire. Well, from grocery taxes and pollution fees, there are some big initiatives on the ballot in Washington. Here is how things are looking right now. Initiative 940 has to do with law enforcement and deadly force, requiring de-escalation training and mental health training. This is passing 60% to 40. Initiative 1631 regarding the greenhouse gas pollution tax is failing right now with 50 voting no. Initiative 1634, that would be preventing taxes on foods like Seattle's soda tax. It is passing right now with 54%. And Initiative 1639 on gun control, requiring background checks for pistols and raising the minimum age for buying pistols and rifles to 21. That's passing as well with 60%. Well, Spokesman-Review reporter Jim Camden joins us now. Jim, are you surprised by any of these numbers?
I guess I'm a little surprised that, on the margin for the carbon fee. Early polling showed that was very popular, but it was also very complicated, pretty hard to understand, and a fee is sort of like a tax, so voters basically said no to taxes by voting down the carbon fee and voting yes on the restrictions on local governments to put taxes on soda and groceries. So I guess those two, when you look at them together, they seem to be the mirror images of each other. The semi-automatic assault rifle initiative, I was surprised that one is so far ahead. I know it's popular. It may have been boosted a little bit by the tragedy in Pittsburgh at the synagogue about a week ago. And then 940 is a really interesting one because it means that the legislature has work to do next session. It's an imperfect initiative, as both the supporters and the opponents said, and the legislature basically messed up in trying to change it. So I think they're going to come back and try and get the changes that the Supreme Court said couldn't go on the ballot, but they'll need a 2/3 majority to do it. So I guess it's a mixed bag out there.
Yeah, Jim, do you think these races could change at this point, any of them?
I don't think so. I mean, when you look at where the votes are in King County, which is the most populous county, I can see the numbers going up or down a few percentage points, but all of them are far enough ahead or behind that it's going to be really hard to turn it around, even though there are a lot of votes left to count, not just in Spokane County, but all over the state. But I suspect that you'll see the trends the same on the initiatives. They don't tend to change as much as some close candidate races do.
Okay, Jim Cannon with the Spokesman-Review. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. And now to the statewide propositions in the state of Idaho. Let's begin with Prop 1. Prop 1 would bring back instant horse racing betting machines, but it's failing right now, 48% to 52% voting no. Prop 2 would expand Medicaid in Idaho to cover anyone under the age of 65 with a household income of up to 133% of the federal poverty level. And right now that's passing with 64% of the vote. Now, last week we also told you about the fallout behind Spokane Valley Republican State Representative Matt Shea, who's running for re-election against Democrat Ted Cummings. Shea had been ahead in fundraising after the primaries, but some of his contributors asked for their money back. As first reported in the Spokesman-Review, Shea took credit for writing a document condemning abortion and same-sex marriages and calling for violence against people who did not follow biblical law. Right now, Shea is ahead of Cummings with 58% of the vote. There are still some 72,000 votes left to count here in Spokane County.
Well, now let's look at the Tri-City Area and the major races happening there.
And the race for congressional district, U.S. Representative incumbent Dan Newhouse is up 65% against Christine Brown.
And the downtown Yakima Plaza advisory vote, that's failing by a long shot. This is the first time this has gone before voters. Right now, nearly 70% of voters are saying no. 13,000 ballots, though, left to count tomorrow.
And it's a tie race for Walla Walla County's new sheriff. Current undersheriff Mike Kreider is ahead of Matthew Stroh, 55 to 45%. There are 5,900 more votes to count tomorrow, so again, still too tight to call.
And the Oregon governor race is a very close one. Incumbent Democrat Kate Brown currently in the lead ahead of State Representative and Republican Newt Buehler.
And of course, all of those results are on our website, also on Facebook.
And after the break, we'll check on weather and of course sports.